Hi, thank you again for joining me on another session of Broken to Beautiful. Today we're going to talk about when you've been hurt or when something, really bad happens, you've been through some sort of trauma. How do you get out of those negative thoughts that keep swirling around in your head? And I'm sure we've all been there. Think about a time when something really horrific happened and it's one thought after another, but they're not positive thoughts at all, that just keep going around and around and around and around inside your mind, and you just can't seem to turn them off. Well, today let's dive into that just a little bit. Just a quick reminder that the Broken to Beautiful series, it's not a comprehensive, the lives are not comprehensive, but we do have comprehensive help for you, and we've got a special coming up for you that we will be announcing next week. How to get out of my negative thoughts. Now, like I said, when we hurt, there's a range of thoughts, and they're usually negative, that keep circling around and around in our mind. We play the mistakes in our mind over and over again. We have thoughts about how foolish we were. We think about how much we have sacrificed. We think about the things we should have done, what people are going to say, what are people thinking, the plans that we had that are now gone, and we just keep going on and on and on. How great the other person or the situation made you feel, how great you were when you were there, how much bad treatment you may have accepted to try to make something work, how much you sacrificed. It's one negative thought after another, and these thoughts just seek to make a bad situation worse. So here we are, we're hurting, really hurting, devastated, and the only thing we seem able to do is to think more negative thoughts, that just add hurts on hurts. So how do you escape these thoughts? Because it seems as if we can't shut them off and we can't seem to tune them out. Let me let you in on something. Your thought life is strongly connected to how you perceive a situation, an individual, or an experience that you've had. Think about it for a moment. When something happens to you, it is usually how you interpret it, how the action has impacted you, that really causes all this sort of hurt and devastation that we tend to feel. That's why sometimes when some individuals go through like two persons can go through the same situation, and the intensity of the feeling is different, because our perception, what is important to us, might not be important to another person, and so we have differences in how we perceive something. So it is our perception that usually determines the impact that something, an experience, will have on us, or an individual will have on us. It's all about how we perceive that. So when hurt comes and certain thoughts are automatically triggered, for example, whenever someone said, when I was going through my divorce, there was a time when I was really feeling, like I said, I was living on this tiny island that was where my ex was from, and I had no friends, no family there. And I remember, and I moved there, well, because of him, basically. My husband, we said we could go home, we could go to his island, build, etc. You're looking forward to your future. And so I was like, okay, we go. And even though I had no one there. And while we were there, then the whole, a couple of years, the whole issue of divorce was presented. And I remember one day, I was feeling really low, but there was something that I really needed. And we weren't divorced yet, but, the not coming home as much, etc., was setting in. And I went to his job to look for him. And I kept calling, though, to find out where on the compound he was. And the phone would ring out, but it was something I cannot remember. It was something I really needed, and I kept calling. But I headed towards the place because it was in walking distance, and I I can smile at it now. I remember just when I was coming up to where his office was, I called again just to make sure he was at the office, and I'm walking towards it and the phone is at my ear. And I happened to see him take the phone, look at it, and hang the call, and just slip it back into his pocket. You know the kind of impact that had on me? When I saw him saw me calling him and just slip that phone back in his pocket as if whatever, I felt devastated. I felt ignored. I felt really unloved. I felt as if I wasn't worth anything. Here's a man that had moved from my island to his island to be with, to build our life together, and he could not pick up a phone call. I could not understand how you go from proclaiming love, 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 love to really just, But when the lasting impact that had on me, I had a hard time picking up the phone to call anybody for anything for a long time after that. And some people might say, oh, that's stupid. But that is the impact it had on me. That was my perception. My perception was, if they're not picking it up, maybe they are rejecting me the way he did. And at first I didn't realize that that was the reason. Every time I picked up the phone to call someone, even if it was my mother, who always answers me, even if it was my heart rate just automatically increased, and I would start to feel really, really nervous. And if what I started doing was hanging up before it rang out so that I would not feel rejected. It took me a while to realize that that is what I was doing. And I'm saying all this to say that sometimes we have these automatic reactions happening, and it could be because of how we perceived something in an experience that we had. When he did not answer me, that set in motion a series of thoughts that influenced my reaction to a simple thing like picking up the phone to make a phone call. As a matter of fact, my anxiety levels used to just skyrocket even to send a text. It took many, many, many years of me reconditioning my thinking that because someone doesn't answer doesn't mean they're rejecting you. And it does not mean that everybody is him. It took forever. And when I met my present husband, he couldn't understand why I would prefer to send a text then pick up the phone. But it was a work in progress, and eventually I worked through it. And that's why I stand where I am today. And I am able to tell you that when you have certain feelings, when something happens and all of a sudden you're having a reaction to it that you can't seem to control, somewhere along the line, some trauma, some hurt, some event went way down beneath your consciousness to seep down into your subconscious and impacted you in such a way, at such an extent, that now you are involuntarily reacting every time a similar situation comes into play. What does that have to do with your negative thoughts? Well, let me explain something about the way our thoughts work. Our thoughts occur on two levels. There's our conscious thought, which are the ones that we control, and there are subconscious thoughts, which are involuntary. For example, breathing. You don't think about breathing. It happens, but you've got a part of your brain that's triggering that's saying, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what is supposed to happen. You have to first take control of your conscious thoughts. The problem is that a lot of the times we want results and we want them now, but we don't really want to put in the work. And I keep saying this. Healing, change, it takes work. It takes continued, dedicated work to you and where you want to get. So you want to start taking control of your conscious thoughts. Whenever you're feeling hurt and distraught or overwhelmed, it starts with what you're thinking. What is going on in your head? You do have control over that. You don't want to be lazy about your own healing. You you want to know that I am active in what it is that I'm doing towards my healing, or else somebody's going to be able to try to give you healing, and it probably won't be what you want in the way you want, and that could bring you more devastation. Now, wishing that I was healed is not actually going through the healing process. Though wishing is not a bad thing in and of itself. You can say, I wish I was past this point. I wish I will get over this. I wish that I will forget the hurt and the pain, and so we can wish. But what you need to do, if you do have such a desire, is attach a positive thought to that wish. And that way you start conditioning your conscious thought. If you say, I wish I was past this point, but I will never get there, or I will never forget the hurt, we're already conditioning our, remember, it goes from the consciousness to the subconsciousness. Two thoughts. When you want something to become your nature, your involuntary way, the first instinct, the first response that you first have to condition the thoughts you can control, which are your conscious thoughts. So when you're hurting and the pain is rolling in and you think you can't stop your thoughts, yes, you can. You have got that power to control what it is that you're thinking. So you want to attach some positive thoughts to your wishes. I wish I was healed, and I know that if I apply the right steps and I get the right things in gear, I can get there. You want to start thinking with the thoughts that are rolling through your mind. Grab hold of them. There is something else you want to ask. Who fed you the thoughts? Think about that for a moment. If you're trying to lose weight and you're looking in the mirror and you go like, maybe you went down 5 pounds, 10 pounds, but you're still telling yourself, I'm fat. Who fed you that thought? Who told you what fat is for you? Who told you, oh, you are overweight? Who told you you look obese? Who told you, oh, you could stand to lose a little bit more weight? Who are the ones that are feeding you the thoughts? The thoughts that are going through your mind, the thoughts that tell you will never get over your hurt, the thoughts that tell you are worthless, because we tend to think that when things have happened. The thoughts that tell you, oh, me again, I am the one always being hurt because nobody loves me and nobody cares about me. Who fed you those thoughts? Where are they coming from? The thoughts, our thoughts always have a source. Things do not just happen, boom, in a vacuum. A lot of the times what we are not doing though is taking the time to find out who or what the source is that fed us these thoughts in the first place. So you want to discover the source so that you can determine what is somebody else feeding you an idea and what is actually your idea. So you want to then decipher where your authentic self lies. If you've always been told you're stupid and you're now in a situation where you're hurting and something happened and you start thinking, see me being dumb again, making stupid mistakes, I can never get anything right. Is that truly what you believe about yourself, or is that a story that you have been fed by someone, even if it was when you were a kid? You've got to find the source of what's feeding your thinking so that you can start to determine what it is you truly believe and think about yourself. There has got to be a separation. So that's where you want to make sure you get. So when you've asked who fed you the thoughts, you have determined which ones are actually your thoughts and which are not, you need to start taking control. Like I said, our thought lives happens on two levels. Your conscious level, which is what you can control, and your conscious level then feeds your subconscious so that it becomes a part of you. Your subconscious thinking those are your involuntary actions. Those are the ones that tend to override a lot of things sometimes and just kick in. All of a sudden you're nervous in a certain situation, or you're happy about a certain situation without even having to think about it. Or maybe just the thought of it just triggers a whole set of emotions for you. You've got to control the conscious thoughts that are feeding your negative thoughts. Whenever you find that there is, and this is the thing, whenever you find that you're just dwelling in the negative, now when something happened to you, it's like it's like your power was taken away from you. When someone hurts you, even if you are partly responsible for whatever happened, when whatever they do, you could not control. You can only control what you do. The hurt has happened. The pain has happened. What are you doing now to take back the control? Or are you going to continue to give the power to the situation or to the individual who have hurt you by continually thinking negative about yourself, negative about the situation, and beating yourself down? You have got to make a decision about what it is you really want. And when that person is not in the picture anymore, and when the situation does not exist anymore, even though you are hurting, you still have the power. You've got the power to change your thought and your thinking. And when that thought and thinking start to change on a conscious level, it then seeps down to your subconscious. Before you know it, it becomes your belief, and that becomes your nature, and it becomes the way that you want to respond to situations. So you have got to take back your power. Too many times we've been hurt already, and we keep handing over the rest of ourselves for other individuals to keep hurting us by taking on all the responsibility for everything that happened. It's time to take your power back. So you don't just stay in your hurt and keep hurting yourself, or letting what somebody else say keep whipping you when you're down. I remember, and I will keep making references to some of my experiences. I remember being on that tiny island, have no friends, no family, facing divorce. And if you know anything about small communities, and this was a small community of about 3,000 people, who people would sit and people would gossip about what they don't know or what they heard, and they would spin stories. So here I was already facing a traumatic situation, and then it feels as if it's you against an entire community, because at a certain point there was nobody extending a hand to say, let me help the stranger. You were a stranger in the midst, and therefore strange meant different, and strange meant easy target. Or maybe people just wanted somebody to talk about, and people just wanted to glory in somebody else's hurt. But I distinctly remember being so alone at times, and people talking and taking on everything that people would say. And so here I was broken and feeling as if I was beating myself down even more by taking on the negativity that others were saying, until I wised up. We keep handing our power over to persons because we do not take control. And taking control means that the crap has already happened. The hurt has already happened. What do I do now? You start with taking control of the conscious thoughts, because that is the way you're going to revolutionize your inner being, so that you can then cultivate the individual who can stand against the force no matter what comes. And that is what we need to be doing. And I'm not talking what is it, Star Wars Jedi Force? I'm talking about the essence and the force of who you are, and what pushes back at you every time you seem to push forward. So you want to stop the negative thoughts? Take control of your thoughts, of what is going on inside here. And then you need to determine who has been feeding you those thoughts, who have been telling you you ain't worth nothing, who have been telling you you'll never rise, who have been telling you you're ugly, who have been telling you you're just, I remember somebody telling me that I was just good for men to have sex with. Oh yeah, I was a kid. I don't even think I was 12 years old yet. People say the meanest, nastiest thing out of their own hurt, insecurities, and fears, and out of their ignorance. Don't get me going on how we just yap out of our ignorance, hurting others. People just unleash negativity and hurt all the time. Why are we taking it on? So you gotta figure out, where did this thinking come from? Where did it start? And then you're gonna cut it off at the root, because you're gonna determine, is it what I truly believe? Am I being authentic when I think these thoughts? Is this true to who I am? We can go through hurt and change the tide. And this might sound like an oversimplification, but it actually takes discipline to think differently. So those are the things that I wanted to highlight to you today. You want to take control of your thoughts, question your thoughts. Where are they coming from? Why am I thinking this way? Is this truly the way it is? Or is it that I'm exaggerating? What is it that's really hurting me? That's another thing, but that is a whole topic by itself, because sometimes we express anger when actually we might feel humiliated. So we got to learn to decipher what's the true emotion we are feeling and why we are feeling that emotion. Is it that we're happy the guy left secretly somewhere deep down, but we just feel humiliated because we invested so much, or people expected you to get married, or you're just scared of what people are going to say and people are going to talk about? You gotta know what it is true to you. It comes down to you connecting to the truth of who you are, regardless of what anybody else will say or do. So determine the source of your thoughts so that you can determine if it's your truth or someone else's. Another thing that I want to emphasize is that you've got to attach positive thinking, positive thoughts to your wishes. If you're hurt and you want to rise above that hurt, it's not just saying, I wish I was healed already, but I will never be. It's not saying, I wish that I could be in this situation, but I don't see myself being there. You've got to start attaching the positive to your thinking. So today, and yes, if you're hearing that sound in the background, that is the thing about being business and mommy. I get to combine two dynamic worlds all at once. Hurt comes, devastation comes, but it does not have to override you. And that negative space that you seem to have been living in, it's time to move out. It's time to pack up your house out of your negativity and find your road that leads you to your positivity. It's time to get all your clothes together, and it's time sometime to leave some of that luggage and take your awesome self from your brokenness to your place of beauty. The thing is, until you are ready to be disciplined, until you're ready to truly face yourself, because a lot of us say the words that we think everybody wants to hear. We say it, but we aren't ready for it yet. So when you're ready, and don't die in your brokenness. It is a waste of life. It is a sad, sad thing to watch another human being be dead while yet alive. Do not live broken. Don't die broken. There is too much in you yet unexplored, yet untapped, for you to be taken out by somebody's selfishness, by somebody's inconsiderate ways. You should not die because you made a mistake. We all make them, or you made a wrong decision. You can rise above it. Once there's life, there is hope. And maybe your trauma started a long time ago and you do not know who you are outside of the trauma. But you weren't born that way. When you were that tiny little baby, you weren't hurt by this individual. Hurt comes after, but it means there was something else that existed before the hurt. Something good and awesome, and it's time for you to discover it. So today, We are talking about getting outside of our negative space. We are talking about taking control. We are talking about looking from our hurt to our hope, from our brokenness to our beauty, from our pigsties to our palace. That is where you want to go. And it starts with taking control of your thoughts, knowing who's feeding you these thoughts so you can know what is your truth and what is somebody else's truth you've been living by. And you want to attach some positivity to your wishes, because our thought life, we become something when we take control of our conscious way of thinking. If you're struggling to get out of your negative space, to cultivate the positivity that will help you to get to the place that you need to get, to become the person and live the life that you envision. Hi Tasha, thank you so much for joining us. We are just wrapping up, but the replay will be up in a minute. If you're struggling, if you're having yourself a difficult time getting out of the negativity, and it seems like you're drowning in that hurt, that pain, and all the thoughts associated with it, that's why we're here. Broken to Beautiful have an awesomely intense package, an intense program to help you go from your place of broken to your space of beautiful. And it is my honor to be the one to assist you on your journey. There is hope. You don't have to live hopeless. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern. Feel free to share the videos. If they're inspiring you, share them with someone. Inspire somebody else. Reach out, share it. Just spread the goodness so that others can also learn and grow. Don't keep it all for yourself. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Look for me, Balkis Clark. I am there. And I share all sort of insights about various things in your life. So you can join my group, Unleashed. Top of the page, you will see the button. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, where it's just a whole lot of goodness coming your way to help you grow and to help you expand and to help you become the best person, the best version of you that is possible. So again, thank you for joining me. Like I say, share, and keep sharing it. Join us Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern as we take this magnificent journey where we go from being broken to our place of beauty. Have yourself a good one.